The Crowley monster. The hero of our story was born on October 12, 1875, into a conservative and very wealthy Christian family in England. His father was Edward Crowley, who was one of the most famous architects at the time, and his mother was Emily Bertha Bishop, who was always suffering from her son's strange behavior after he arrived for the age of 8. The hero of our story was not loved among his neighbors or his relatives because he was always hitting them and creating problems, to the extent that the neighbors called him the Crowley monster. And because of these problems, his parents sent him to the Christian boarding school and Royal Leamington Spa Resort in order to improve his behavior and help with discipline. But, unfortunately, the opposite happened. Alexander Crowley, the hero of our story, was born with hatred towards the Christian religion and rejected all its teachings, which are morals and the worship of the one God, and he continued in this situation until his father Edward Crowley died of tongue cancer. And Alexander inherited a third of his father's wealth. He was still in his teens, but he had millions, hence the story of the son of Satan. After he inherited the money, he began to do what he loved, and he moved to Cambridge University in the year 1895, and from there the real Alexander Crowley began to appear. Because of his hatred of the Christian religion, he began to learn about magic and sorcery, and he used to talk to Satan face to face. That is why he began to offer sacrifices of animals such as cats and dogs, and to perform frightening sexual rituals to please the devil, and he studied many impossible things that the human mind could imagine. And he used to do all this in one of the deserted palaces of his father, to the extent that the place was literally like the house of the devil. And after years of learning magic and sorcery, he became an able magician, and a loyal servant of the devil. And he always said evil will inevitably spread. He also changed his name from Alexander Crowley to Aleister Crowley, and in the year 1898 Aleister decided that he would join the most dangerous secret groups band in Great Britain, which included a large number of Satanists and witches. Its name was Organization of the Monks of the Golden Dawn, and this group was known to be a mixture of the teachings of esoteric Christianity, the teachings of the ancient pharaonic civilization in Egypt, and the manuscripts of the Renaissance era. And this was the reason for Aleister joining them, with the aim of applying all that they had previously learned alone. Indeed, he joined them and learned many dangerous things about magic and sorcery, and after learning everything he wanted, Aleister decided that he would separate from them and return alone again. Aleister saw that this was the best time to take advantage of his huge wealth and start their journey across the world in search of the origins of ancient black magic. Indeed, he traveled to more than one country: America, India, France, and Jordan, and kept searching for ancient manuscripts and hidden black magic books, until he decided to settle in a country. Do you know where he decided to settle? He lived in Egypt for a long time among the tombs and temples of the ancient pharaohs, and also held many parties filled with alcohol, drugs, sex and cursed magic rituals. And also the strange thing about Aleister, and what all people noticed, is that he could assume different personalities, so he became similar to the people of the country in which he lives, to the extent that there was no one from the people of the country in which he was staying that could differentiate between him and them. They also had a terrible ability to persuade, as he was able to convince people in Egypt that the god Horus, a god among the ancient Egyptians, was personally sent to protect their tombs from theft that was happening at the time from the British and French, and also to protect their magical rituals written inside the walls of the temples. Unfortunately, their religion has spread among countries in order to increase the number of people who believe in it and in the religion Thelema, and all of this is under the slogan, "Do whatever you want," just as Aleister Crowley held on the island of Sicily the dirtiest black parties, offering sacrifices, and all of this is glorification from him to evil, and he used to offer newborn children as offerings, and they were slaughtered, drinking their blood, mutilating their bodies, and presenting them in the name of Satan. And when the authorities and the government noticed that there were many reports about the kidnapping and disappearance of infants, all people and all suspicions began to remain against him and his group. That is why he decided to return again to England. And there he began to publish books written by him and his writings, because he was a very skilled author, and he used this to write many books that call people to worship Satan, even if he alone deserves to be worshipped. Among the most important of these books is the book The Law, which is considered the holy book of the Thelema religion, and in which Aleister Crowley collects all the teachings and principles of his new religion, and also the book Magic in Theory and Practice, and a book The Book of Lies, and the book of Thoth, and a book and other Kabbalistic writings of Aleister Crowley, and the book Diary of a Drug Fiend. And there are many other books that glorify Satan and explain how to worship him. Unfortunately, Crowley became more and more famous among people and between countries, and he was known by many terrifying titles, including Son of Satan, Servant of Satan, Devil's Prophet, and it is 666. And this number was used by Aleister Crowley a lot in his terrifying rituals and in conjuring the devil, to the extent that the number became a symbol of evil and the devil, and you must have heard about this number before that. Going back to the date of the number 666, we will know that he quoted the number from an old novel that says that the number 666 will be written on the forehead of a monster who will come at the end of the world with the approach of the day of resurrection, and Aleister saw that he was this monster. On December 1, 1944, Lester Crowley was found dead, surrounded by bottles of alcohol and drugs everywhere, and someone like this deserves that our Lord takes his soul in this way, and in this situation. And in many accounts I mentioned that the cause of his death was the disease gonorrhea. The cause of this disease is sex, but Aleister had more than one illegitimate son in more than one country. After his death, Satan worshippers held a great ceremony for him, and in this ceremony, they burned his body, while saying terrifying prayers glorifying Satan. This is how Aleister Crowley ended, and unfortunately he left millions of people who follow his religion and worship Satan, and until now there are people who implement the teachings and principles of Aleister Crowley to the letter, and he is also classified among the most evil people in history.